you specifically at Baldur's Gate, do you have a lot to say right now? How far are you in the game?
I'm in Act 2 right now.
Okay. Do you have a lot to say? I mean, we can discuss it.
I have some stuff to say.
Okay. Why don't we start there? What do you have to say?
Let's see. I think the game does certain things very, very well.
Okay.
But I am not on the 10 out of 10, this is the best game ever train.
Okay.
Right now.
What are your problems?
My problems are a little bit specific,
Okay,
to be
go ahead.
honest. But have you done Act 2 yet?
No.
Are you in Act 2?
I'm still
No.
messing around in Act 1. I put like 16 hours into Act 1.
Yeah. So I'm at like 35 total or so.
Mm-hmm.
I heard some people took like 50, 60 hours in Act 1, and I don't see how you do that.
No. In my experience, I think you can handle it in about 20.
Yeah, I think I was around between 25 and 30 or so.
Yep.
Like in Act 1.
There's more than I thought in Act 1, to be fair. I didn't explore the Underdark before in early access.
Yeah, I did the Underdark.
Yeah, so there's more to explore than I thought.
Stuff, but,
but yeah, anyway, keep going.
Yeah, my characters are level 6 right now. The Act 2 area is annoying, first of all.
Okay.
Like, they tell you about it before you go there, but still you go there and it's annoying. It's like this shadow realm, like it's this area that's like afflicted with this like shadow curse.
Mm-hmm.
And until you find a protection for it, like, you basically can't, like, if you're in the curse, you take necrotic damage every single turn unless you have a light source.
So
you can have a light source, and these shadow monsters that like teleport in and out. I had one combat where these enemies, they just like teleport on your casters, and when they hit you, they silence you, so your casters are literally useless against that enemy type. And it was just so fucking obnoxious. I'm like, what do you expect me to do? You expect me to just reload and just bring a full melee party? Because that's what it feels like, because this is just stupid. Like,
so they teleport.
Yeah, they just teleport, and then they melee attack your casters, and when they hit you with the melee attack, you're silenced until you move like 30 feet away from them, so you just have to disengage and run away, and then they teleport at you again and do it again. So it's like, okay, this is stupid.
Okay. I don't have a counter for that, to be clear. I just want to say that this game is meant for you to reload. You're meant to
Yeah, I know,
reload.
and I do plenty. I didn't want to when I first started playing it, but the game is just annoying. The game is just annoying sometimes. And there's the first basically main quest you do in Act 2. I won't spoil like exactly what's going on.
Yep.
But like you get to this town and they're talking about what we're gonna do and blah blah blah.
Yep.
And then like you go to see this cleric and you're talking about stuff, and then this like, you know, bad guy comes down and like tries to kidnap the cleric, right? And you get into a fight with him and a bunch of like demons that fly in. And they all focus fire on the cleric, and they have attacks that like paralyze or stun. And the first time I did the fight, I was winning the fight, like I'm using Will the Warlock and had like Hunger of Hadar down, but still the enemies were like focus firing the cleric, and I didn't have my cleric, so I didn't have any way to heal her, and she got stunned, so she couldn't do anything.
Yep.
And she was getting wrecked.
Yep.
And then she goes down.
Yep.
And as soon as she goes down, a cutscene starts playing where the enemies just carry her away, and it's like, oh, you lost the fight. And then what happens is the entire town turns into shadow monsters, and you have to kill the entire town. You get into another fight right after that.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm just like, this is not how D&D works. The enemy should have to carry her away. You should not auto lose the fight as soon as she goes down. That does not make any sense. And there was only I had killed the main guy, and there was only one or two enemies left in the room, and I had Hunger of Hadar down, which slows shit down and it blinds them, and it's just I shouldn't auto lose the fight just because she went down, because they're not trying to kill her, they're trying to kidnap her.
Right.
So that really irked me. I was like, this is not how D&D works. They should have to pick her up and carry her away, which in the case that I was in, they would not have been able to do that. I would have killed them before they got away. So you just auto lose the fight, and
can you prevent her from being kidnapped? Like, is there a
If-
mechanism to prevent her from being kidnapped if you
Yes,
win?
if you win the fight without her going down.
Okay. Did you do that, or did you
I reloaded and redid the fight without her
and
going down, and it was fine.
did
But I was
and the town didn't turn into shadow monsters after that happened?
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine after that. It's just a huge penalty for like losing, like quote unquote losing the fight, but which I didn't felt like I lost the fight. I was like, she just went down. Like, that's not a character death. And again, they just like auto kidnapped her as soon as she went down, which again, in a D&D sense, makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think they have a way in this game to carry a corpse. Also, is there a way to carry a corpse in this game?
you can pick up a corpse. Yeah, you can.
Oh, there's actual corpse carrying animation. Okay.
The penalty was also just like the penalty was so steep for like losing that one. Again, I don't even consider it losing the fight. I was just like, okay, she went down. But again, there was like 1 or 2 enemies left, and I'm like I would have easily won this. It probably would have taken me 1 more turn, maybe 2 more turns to like clean up the remaining enemies, and it would have been over.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way they would have gotten away from me.
Yeah.
So that really bothered me. I was like, yeah, this is just doesn't make sense and is obnoxious.
Yep. And then they didn't tell you that. Well, they don't tell you win conditions, so it's hard to know like, oh, that was like a condition of if she goes down, this all is going to happen. They don't really like, it's not like it's displayed pretty prominently. So you're kind of like, okay, well, you're thinking if she goes down, she goes unconscious.
Yeah.
But, well, most NPCs, if they go down, not always, but they just die.
Yeah, they die.
You assume it's like your party where if they go down, maybe they're just unconscious or they just straight up die. So it's a little bit counter to your expectation to see like a cutscene immediately happen when somebody goes down, and then like,
I mean, the game just, in that case, if they're going to do that, the game needs to be more clear about it. They need to say, hey, keep this, if she goes down, you're gonna lose the fight. Like, keep this character up, don't let her go down.
They explain it in dialogue, like, hey, if she goes down, something.
Like, they explained that they're trying to kidnap her. Like, I knew that, but I didn't think if she went down, I would just auto lose the fight.
Right.
And again, a cutscene would just play where they just carry her away, and they wouldn't have to carry her away in the comic. Because I'm like, this game is D&D 5e, that's what it is. If you had a mechanic like that in D&D, and they were trying to kidnap a particular character or NPC, they would have to either like grab and hold the character and then carry them away,
right,
or like in this, knock them unconscious and then carry them away.
Sure.
It wouldn't just be like, oh, they knocked them unconscious, now they just automatically carry her away. It's like that. Yeah. Again, that's just not how D&D works.
True. That's true. I suppose that would be an instance of it being a bit counter to the expectation. Okay. Any others?
This is also a very specific problem, but like, targeting Fireball is honestly hella obnoxious.
So how are you targeting it? Just for context, like, how do you target it? How are you targeting it right now? I have not used Fireball. I have no context.
Well, most of the time when you're using Fireball, it's like, I have a front line that is like tanking the enemies, and I have my wizard behind, and then I want to shoot a fireball behind the enemies so it explodes and hits the enemies, but not my party members.
Correct.
Fireball seems to act like a projectile where it's like, if your guys or enemies are in the way, it can be blocked by them. Yep. And it also just like keeps snap targeting to like right on top of the enemy, and I'm like, well, I don't want to hit it there because it's gonna blow up my tanks. And again, maybe it's just an expectation thing, because when we play D&D, if a wizard can see the spot, they can target a fireball there.
Right. To be fair, we're not playing D&D probably as realistic as that case. If somebody is in the way of a fireball, of course it's going to hit them. like if they're literally in the line of a fireball, I don't know how the wizard actually, or the caster actually casts fireball, like realistically, but
it depends on your like interpretation of the spell. Again, I've heard it's a tiny bead of energy that just goes out and explodes. In my, like, for me, fireball to me is like the caster just manipulates like the oxygen in that area and just detonates it and just creates an area of fire.
Right.
That's my imagination of what fireball is, because it doesn't make sense otherwise. So
it doesn't make sense to like throw a ball of fire and have it explode.
And I mean, I guess it does, but that's just not how I imagine it. So maybe again, it's just like an expectation thing. But either way, targeting it is very annoying because I'm like moving my mouse cursor around and it just keeps snapping on top of enemies, and I'm like, very rarely do I want to target a fireball
on an enemy specifically
on top of a particular enemy. You want to put it in an area so it hits a bunch of enemies, and hopefully not my allies, but occasionally, I'll just blast my allies too. But
yeah, I think the way that they're handling it must be like you throw the projectile.
Yeah, it's a projectile. It's definitely
like firebolt. They treat it like firebolt.
Acts as a projectile, but like it's they make it annoying to target a place and not like a specific enemy with it. And that is definitely not how fireball.
No, fireball
works.
isn't usually used like that.
You don't have to target a particular enemy with it. You have to, like, I can usually get it to work how I want it, but it takes way more finagling than it should.
Mm-hmm. Again, I've never cast it in Baldur's Gate. I know I have Gale has it. I just haven't gotten into a combat to use it yet. But yeah, the way that most things that are actual projectiles in this, they all work the same way. Where if something's in the line, it's in the line, even a character. Yeah. So I guess in that context, if it's going to act like a projectile and if something's in the way, it's going to block it. That being said, I haven't had a lot of cases where a projectile snaps to someone. I'm wondering if there's a setting that could be like toggled on and off.
I was looking through the settings and I couldn't see. I couldn't see anything.
Okay. Because when I use firebolt, for example, or like any projectile, yes, it does snap. I've seen that before, but I can get it like in the spot that I would hope to get it.
But that's also a single target attack, not an area of
effect. Hold on.
I
know. Hold on. Ice Knife is not always a single target attack. It's the same thing with that. So I sometimes can. I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way. I'm not saying it's easy or user-friendly is the better way I would put it. I'm just saying that I don't experience the same issues with snapping that's enough where it's causing me like frustration. But I do see it. I do see the snapping, particularly when I'm trying to use Ice Knife. I do have trouble with Ice Knife at times. My usual response is, okay, I don't have to use Ice Knife here, to be fair. And sometimes, if I'm lucky, I can get in the right spot anyway. So yes, I think projectiles could definitely use some kind of toggle or a better, just not snapping as much. I don't know what they're accounting for with the snapping. I guess just because it's easier to like snap a mouse, like aim assist there.
Yeah, but like with an area of effect, it shouldn't work like that at all. Like the single target spells are like Ice Knife. It's like a single target and then an AoE is kind of how that spell works. So that still to me makes a little more sense. But with like Fireball is a pure AoE spell.
Right.
I don't know why it's coded to snap to enemies with Fireball. That doesn't make any sense.
Probably because it's all coded the same. They probably have anything that is like
is a projectile.
They probably just have it snap automatically. They probably don't have like a specific. I guess this is an AoE case. Though maybe they should.
Because I don't remember having the same problems with like what is it? Is it Hunger? I think it's Hunger of Hadar,
Hunger of
which
Hadar.
is the Warlock spell,
Yep.
and then like Cloud of Daggers, which I was also using.
Cloud of
like,
Daggers,
earlier.
yeah, doesn't have that problem really.
That's a really good like early game AoE spell.
Cloud of Daggers is nuts, by the way. That is a nuts spell.
Yeah. Hunger of Hadar is like Cloud of Daggers, but on crack because it's like huge.
Yeah.
It's huge and it like blinds enemies and it slows.
Yeah,
them.
that's nuts. That sounds crazy.
That spell is insanely powerful.
Because Cloud of Daggers, I think, is insanely powerful.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm like, man,
like,
anything
the enemies
that's more...
do not. The AI in this game does not know how to deal with like
No.
like a ground AoEs that like they just run through it, or if you like put your tank right on the edge of it, they will just stand in it and frickin' die.
Yeah,
like
the AI doesn't counter an AoE like sustained spell. It doesn't know what to do. It just goes right through it. It sits in it. It'll die to it. It'll just go through and die to it. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Cloud of Daggers is kind of the MVP right now. I figured that out.
Yeah, early game Cloud of Daggers is the MVP.
It's the MVP.
Sure.
It's probably the best spell.
And for me right now, like now at like 5th level and above with Will, it's Hunger of Hadar.
It's Hunger of Hadar, yeah.
Insane. Like
anything that has like a damage component that's also an AoE that can just be sustained on a spot is insanely valuable, I found.
Yeah.
Which is why Gale early game, and just in general, but like Gale early game with Cloud of Daggers, so good. You just drop it.
Once you get to level 3, which like, and getting to level 3 is really fast.
It's quick.
The leveling slows down quite a bit after that, but like getting to 3 is really fast.
Yep, 3 is fast. 4 takes a little bit of time. 5 takes a long time, and then it's gonna just keep.
I'm 6 right now.
It's just gonna keep getting slower. Anyway, I think. Okay, anyway, so like, yeah, we were talking about problems. That one specific fight with the kidnapping. I guess we'll say, like, targeting AoE spells. Let's call it targeting AoE spells. That happen to be a projectile, apparently.
I also think that, like, with combat, while you're in somebody's turn, at least with movement, maybe not performing actions, but even sometimes in performing actions, there should be like an undo button. You should be able to undo like
that would be really nice.
A character's like movement to just the beginning of that turn of like their current until you've ended that character's turn. You should be able to undo. Because I've had times where I like misclicked and I just like use half my movement for no reason. I'm like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
And I've had times where I'm like, when 2 of your characters are in like the same spot in the turn order. Or there's like a bunch of your characters, you can swap. You can like do.
You can go between them.
Turn first. Occasionally, I've tried to like swap to a different character, and I've had my melee character go up and hit my character, one of my other allies, and I'm like, well, that sucks.
What?
I just used my attack and my movement to go hit my fucking ally.
What?
Yeah. When I click my ally's portrait either on the top bar or on the sidebar, my character will like go over and smack them in the face, and I'm like, all right, nice. So I'd really like an undo button for that situation.
I'll be honest,
like,
I've never had that happen, but that's
yeah,
really
I know it's probably a bit of an edge case, but either way, it's annoying, and an undo button would fix that real quick.
Yeah, it would. I actually do agree with the undo button. I have accidentally used like disengage instead of dash, because I've just clicked fast, I guess. I've done that by accident. And I've been like, okay, well, it's not punishing me, but that's maybe
I just wasted you just wasted your action.
I just wasted that. It's so okay. I really wish I didn't do that. So I actually agree with the undo button pretty heavily. I strongly agree with that one. I strongly agree that an undo button I think would do this game some good. I do think there are cases maybe where the undo button maybe shouldn't be used, but maybe if it's like.
You shouldn't be able to like perform attacks against enemies and then if it misses like undo and do something else. Like that feels a little too cheesy for me, but like I don't know. So yeah, it would be
undo on like movements and things like that would be nice.
Definitely undo on movement. So yeah, and also sometimes like when you click on a spot, like it just doesn't move how I'm expecting, and it uses like more movement than I'm expecting it to, and then I don't have enough movement left for like what I want to do. So definitely with like movement, you should be able to undo your movement like
Sure.
at will
I agree with
during
that.
a character's turn. Until you end the character's turn, you should be able to undo your movement.
I agree. I agree with movement undos or like certain action undos. I don't think undo should be global, but I do think
I think if you've performed an action that has an effect on an enemy, you shouldn't be able to be able to undo that. So like you like attack an enemy or you cast a spell on an enemy.
Yep.
I don't think you should be able to undo that.
As far as attacking an ally, I do think there should be a warning. There should be some kind of warning that says, "Hey, you're about to attack your ally. Are you sure?" That to me, even as an edge case, if it happens, it's gonna force a player to like almost reload.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like, I had the attack button selected because I was thinking about attacking, and then like I'm like, well, actually, I think it'd be better if I like did this other character's turn first, and then I click on their portrait on the sidebar, and my monk just walks up to them and smacks them in the face. So
I do think there should be a warning for that case of if it's your ally. It should know it's your ally and give a warning. It's like, are you sure? Because normally you would in this game, any actions I think of where you'd want to attack your ally are like they're asleep, but even then, you can use your action to wake them up. You basically
there's
just
like a help action
button.
or like a wake up action where it's just like.
So I feel like there are actually actions to wake somebody up, or like what you would do normally to like attack somebody, wake them up, or like an action to help them. So I do think there should be a warning for that. That one I agree with too. Undo and for specific actions and warning would be great. To avoid that, because that's it's like somebody's gonna reload. It's gonna force somebody to reload. Like they attack their ally, they're likely reloading because like I just wasted an action in a potentially crucial moment. Like
I also
that's a
don't
reload.
think I also think the game should, and maybe this is a setting that I just haven't looked at. I think the game should auto save more often.
It does.
If you're not quick saving a lot, like sometimes when you reload, you have to go back quite a ways.
Yep, I know that. I know you gotta save quite a bit. I usually save before very specific moments in like combats that I know of. I save.
I mean, yeah, I do that too, but like occasionally I forget, and occasionally I'm just like going a while, and sometimes you'll just come upon an encounter that like you don't know is there, and like you have a bad encounter. It's like, well, that's not good. I kind of need to I got ambushed. My characters all failed this perception check, and I got ambushed once, and I got shit stomped. Like it was just like, geez, and it was like a normal encounter in the field in Act 2. Like,
yeah, like it. I do think the autosave should be more frequent, and that's why I do quick saves, is to counter, because I know it's a problem. I'm countering that by doing that. I mean, I'm aware it's a problem. This game definitely has problems. I know the problems pretty well from early access, and some of them are fixed, some of them are not. The autosave thing I actually know is not fixed. That has still been a thing, which is why I do that all the time. Targeting I haven't noticed as much, but again, that like all these frustrations.
Yeah, there should be an option in the options menu that's like autosave every like certain like increment of time, like autosave every 5 minutes or something like that, or every 10 minutes. Like, you know, this
game definitely has some problems. I've also found that this game isn't easy. This is not an easy game. They are almost telling you need to start assuming you have to reload. Assume you have to reload because you're gonna die. There's a fight in Act 1. There's a fight in the Underdark. You are in I believe it's called like a Dark Forge. There's a Dark Forge. Oh yeah. There's a boss fight. There's a boss fight down there. How did you fight that boss? May I ask?
So the first time I fought it, I kind of did the same strategy both times. The first time it just didn't work. I played out the cutscene a little bit different the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, I made some different decisions which changed how the fight started a little bit.
Yep.
But basically what I did is I put Hunger of Hadar down on like the big group of enemies that spawns like behind you.
No, let me. We're thinking of the wrong thing. There's a boss fight in a forge.
Oh,
very far down. You didn't do that?
I didn't go there. Yeah.
Let me explain the boss fight. I'm going to spoil it for you a bit. This is where this game is assuming you understand that you have to reload. there's a boss in a forge way far down where you can start forging like really powerful armor, mithril armor. So you could go down to this forge. It's like Shadowheart is like super keyed in on it because it's like a Shar, it's like a Shar temple, but it's a forge with a bunch of Shar statues. You go down there, you pick up some mithril or fighting a couple like weak enemies near it, and then you go down to the forge. You try and forge something. So you try and forge, like, let's say a mace. You try and forge this mace. As you try and forge it, a boss appears. It's like a protector boss protecting this forge. And the boss is level 8 and has 300 hit points.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So you're like, my first impression of it was like, there's no fucking way they assume you can beat this right now. So I was like, okay, maybe you come back here at a different point in the game and fight this again, and you're not supposed to be here. It's actually not correct. You fight it then and there at your level, which I think I was 5 at this point.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
5 at that point, yeah.
There is a middle part where a piston slams down, and that's how it hits the forge to forge your item. If you get the boss to walk on the piston that slams down, you do 150 damage to
So
it.
like half its health. So
You
like
take half its health. So the goal of the fight is actually you have to consistently get the lava to flow through the forge, because he takes no damage unless the lava is flowing. He walks to where the piston is, ends his turn there, because you can't do a reaction, which I would like to see. You can't react. So he walks there, and if he's anywhere near it, you have a character slam down the piston, and he dies in like 2 hits. The hard part of the fight is you have to orient your whole party a very specific way. Somebody has to turn on the lava. Somebody has to activate the piston, which are not in the same spot. They're like over here. And then you have 2 other characters just trying to aggro the boss to the center. It's not easy.
He actually stands in the right place.
You have to make sure he stands in the right place.
I assume he hits like a frickin' freight train. So.
He can hit hard, and as soon as you hit him the first time with a piston, he starts using a big AoE attack that hits everybody. So you like, once you hit him the first time, you have to kill him really quickly, otherwise you're just going to start going down. So I did beat it after figuring out this piston thing does like a shit ton of damage, but I didn't know initially. Like, I see a level A boss that's got like 300 points. I'm like, no way, no chance. It turns out you have to use the environment to kill him, but I feel like those are the cases where they're like, you're not going to figure this out right away. You got to play this fight. You got to reload a few times. Yeah. This just was my point. Was this game is not easy, even on like the normal setting. I can't imagine the hard setting, the like tactical setting.
Yeah, tactician difficulty.
Tactician difficulty, I can't imagine. But this game is hard. This is a hard game, I would say. So I think they're definitely going to get some people frustrated with the potential, like, I have to reload a lot. I'm going to go into fights to lose because I'm trying to get information, which is very different from D&D. D&D is like, once you're in a fight, that's your one time. You know, like, you could get team wiped and the game's over.
Yeah, you
so,
just did.
I mean, in this sense too, Baldur's Gate's very different than D&D because I think their expectation is you're going to reload. You got to play this like it's a video game, not D&D. Also, you're just going to lose fights. Like, I've lost so many fights just because, and I'm like, okay, well, there you go, and you just reload and try again. Like, or I got into a fight like against the hag, and I thought I was ready, and I just wasn't. Like, the hag just absolutely kicked my ass, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not ready. I got to come back here later. So I had to reload to go back and get more experience. So game is hard.
I didn't actually do like the real fight with the hag. I killed her like in her house.
Oh wow, you got her in the house.
Yeah.
You got her in the house quickly. You must have like.
I was pretty high. I think I was level 5.
Yep.
And I just like, I don't remember if I proned her or if I was spamming stunning strike with I think I just kept stunning her with my monk,
that's why you're stunning her with monk.
Stunning strike, stunning strike, stunning strike.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to get her before she goes down there. Because when she goes down there, she's not she is harder when she goes down there because there's like a pit.
That dungeon, by the way, that was dog shit. The freaking like poison room, that was horrible.
Yep.
Like that was the worst.
The poison room was the same way in early
like
access.
1,000 freaking times to like get through that without.
Yeah, the poison room is not fun. Where you have to like basically, I'm sure you figured it out, but you had to light the thing on fire and drop an object over a flower. You actually had to physically drop an object over the flower because it's like a vent. It's like, I don't know how you figure that out normally, but in early access it was the same way. There's these it was the same dungeon. Nothing changed in that dungeon. Some things changed from early access, but that dungeon didn't change at all. And it was the same way then. You had to like firebolt the poison and drop an object over a flower to stop the venting. And even then, it was a pain in the ass. So like, I was surprised they didn't change that dungeon at all. Actually, there are some things that they've changed a little bit. The beginning sequence of the game is different than the early access version.
Yeah, that dungeon was horrible. I wish they would have changed it because that was not fun to play. Like that dungeon.
I don't like that dungeon at all. I think that dungeon really is, that part of it is extremely frustrating. That part I didn't like at all. So I'm on the boat of like, that part should have been changed. That should have been changed where it doesn't like. It should have been changed where that doesn't automatically, the traps don't automatically trigger. It should have been like you can disarm them initially the first time. I
only had one box. Like if you're not carrying an inventory full of boxes, I don't know what you do. They only give you one box in that room to like plug a thing with.
You can use other objects besides boxes. You can throw like plates and stuff on it, and I think it works.
Oh, okay.
You can just throw whatever.
Stupid and didn't think about that.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, you never would figure that out. Really, like you would never figure out you can just throw whatever. This game is like a reload game. It's a reload / potentially look stuff up sometimes game. Like you wouldn't figure stuff like, it's not like you're stupid. It's just you wouldn't figure this out. Like throughout the early access, this was in there. I had to like go through, get frustrated early access, figure this out eventually, look online for stuff. Like I had no idea you could get to the Underdark in early access until like very late into early access. I had no idea you could go into the Underdark and like mess around down there. It's just like you have to just like over explore at times everything. And that's just proactively going everywhere. Like you never would know the Underdark is there. It's not easy to get to it. There's like various paths to get to it, but like it's not easy.
Yeah. I guess there's the one in the hag. There's the one in the hag area, right? That like takes you down there.
There is a way to get there from the hag.
The one that I did was like I solved like a puzzle in like a Saluna temple, I think. And
you did the Goblin temple. There's a temple with the Goblin area. That's one way to get down there. Another way is going through the Zentarum outpost. There's a Zentarum outpost, you can go through that. And there's like a hidden wall. You go behind it. There's a crane that takes you down. So it's like there are multiple ways to get there, but you gotta look for them.
But they're all kind of hidden.
You just gotta look for them. And I had no idea. I played early access a lot too, and I had no idea. So, I mean, I get it. Like, you kind of just have to like over explore. You have to reload a lot. Some things just probably aren't like that hag dungeon. Those things should have triggered if you like stepped on them. And that way, oh, I can actually disarm those. Right now, the way to disarm them is like, you have to know to throw fire at it. Then you have to know to throw an object on top of a flower. And then you can go around.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could throw fire at it.
Exactly. How would you know?
Like, I got a perception check that showed me the vent, and I just threw a box on top of the vent.
And that stops it, right? But you can throw fire on it.
That was the only box that I had, so I had to, like, use jumping and, like, jump around, like, the rest of the vents, but basically, and it was just the most annoying,
Yeah,
awful
it-
thing ever.
It's
Like,
super frustrating. Believe me, that dungeon has always been frustrating.
I hated that dungeon. I was like, I was not
I'm with
having
you.
fun when I was not having fun when I was playing.
No,
that
I'm
dungeon.
with you. That
So
dungeon,
that's
I hate it.
what I'll say. Like, this game is like, it's very frustrating and it's borderline not fun sometimes. And like some of the design where I'm like, yeah, this is just like annoying and frustrating.
It can get very frustrating. I'm 100% with you on that.
It does player choice like really, really well. That's obvious. Like, you can see the different ways you can approach different situations and different problems.
Yep.
You know, I've seen a little bit of like the repercussions of my choices that I made in Act 1 and Act 2, so
Yep.
I've seen a little bit of that. So like that stuff is all really good, and like, you know, it's D&D, so at a base it's fun, but I don't know, there are just times when I find the game really, really frustrating. So
Yep.
I like it so far, but I think I would give it about an 8 so far. Like, I like it, but I find the game very annoying. And it makes me not want to play it sometimes. So I'm like, yeah, this game's pissing me off right now.
I
don't want to play.
I get it, and I've done that with this game. In early access, I did that, to be fair, too. So, for me, I knew what I was getting into. So I obviously, like, with the frustration part, I kind of knew it was going to be frustrating. And, like, ahead of time, I knew also that this is a reload game, because I figured that out pretty quickly in early access. Like, okay, like, this is a game you're not meant to just...
Yeah, I don't know how you play through this game, like, on a first playthrough without, like, save scumming and reloading.
No,
like,
you have to save scum.
They
know you're going to. They know that. It's almost like they made it this way. I obviously I can't confirm it, but they designed it this way, it feels like. Where they're like, you're not going to know that this is there, but if you lose, like, now you know. Sure. And there are times, too, where you'll just get screwed over by the dice. So they kind of know that, too. They're like, okay, you're going to get screwed over by dice.
Funnily enough, the very first check I did in the game when I started playing this, obviously this was weeks ago, it wasn't even like a month ago at this point, the one where you're trying to save Shadowheart in the Nautilus, you need to roll a 2. I rolled a nat 1 the first time.
So you just fail.
I did that.
You just
but then I was able to do it. Like, I was able to do it with, I just swapped to Lae'zel and had her
yeah, so like
instead.
that's also a thing too. Like, your party can potentially like help you out there. I try not to have the party help me like do those actions. Like, I'll get guidance, but I try to do the actual interactions.
Yeah, I do. I do too.
But I know that that's an option. You can have every character do the interaction uniquely. This, for me, like, I really like this game a lot. There's a lot more to explore than I anticipated in Act 1. I thought that I didn't even know much about the Underdark part, so that like shocked me.
Like, I didn't even find that forge area that you were talking about. Obviously, I went down to like that part, but I didn't find how to get to like that forge area that you were talking about.
Oh my god, it's a pain to get there. There is platforming.
Yeah, I saw like an area in the back where I was like, it looks like I can go further here, but I didn't see any way to like get around and get down there. Like,
there's like, I mean, platforming, but like you have to do certain, like, some party members, you have to break up your party to do it. Like, it is hard to get to because you gotta spend a lot of time getting there. But what I will say is the reward for doing it is insane. You get this mithril armor, which is, I don't know what blue is in this game, but blue's like very rare or something. You get
it's rare.
I think blue is rare or something.
Green.
It's like
green. It's green and then blue. Green and then blue.
Yeah.
Blue is just above green.
You get really good stuff. Like, you can forge it. You just forge it. So as soon as you beat the boss there, and you get some mithril ore, you can just throw it in there, and you get insanely good weapons and armor. It's insanely good, and like, the reward is heavily there. So you invest a ton of time. You have to do a couple fights. You have to beat this boss. But once you do it, you can forge, and you don't have to do any checks. You just forge it.
Yeah.
So you just forge, like, I forged mithril, like scale mail, And then I forged a mace. So I forged these weapons and stuff and this armor, and I gave it to Shadowheart. And so she's like completely decked out in this suite of like really good stuff. And it's just like, I had no idea this was there until I started looking around, and I'm like, wait, like I started exploring around. I did like, they were trying to break down this wall, a separate wall, broke the wall down, killed some Durgar there, and then I just kept going and going and going, and you go all the way up like these stairs. And eventually you have to like do all these like gear movements to get these paths to move. It took me like an hour to get through all of it. And finally I get to this stupid forge, beat this boss. It took like 2 hours just to do all that, and I forged two things while also getting like looting a bunch of stuff, and you get a waypoint. So and I'm assuming there's more mithril armor you can get.
I missed that area completely. I guess I'll have to go back and try and find it.
Like that's the thing, is like there's way more than I thought. I had no idea. In early access, never found any of this stuff in the Underdark, and it's just there. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like that's why I'm spending a shit ton of time in Act 1, because I'm finding all this stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is here, and I still haven't done I still haven't beaten the hag yet, you know, still haven't actually resolved the tiefling goblin thing. I still got a lot of stuff, but there's a lot to do. I like that there's a lot to do, and you want to do it because you want to get the experience and better equipment.
You can kind of do it in like whatever order you want to.
You can do it in whatever order.
There's a lot of reward for like exploration, as I said. Like player choice is kind of like the crux. It's like go anywhere you want, approach the situation like however you want.
Yeah,
much. So,
that part's all good.
This game does that exceptionally well, maybe better than any other game ever.
Yeah. It does it really well. So that's like one thing that's really fun. I like just exploring around. I like that.
Yeah. But as I said, I do find the game like quite frustrating a lot of the time, and it just makes me not want to play it sometimes. Where it's like, yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Game's just annoying me right now, and I don't want to play it.
I get the take a break parts. 100% get it. So I don't know. I don't have anything else for Baldur's Gate. I wouldn't say an 8. For some of those, I'd still probably give. I don't know where I'm at yet, but I do enjoy it. I get frustrated with this game too. Like I get so frustrated, but
I need to see more of like the companion stories. Like I like the companions generally, but I'm not that far in any of the companion stories. And then like the main story as well. Like I just need to see where it goes. In terms of the storytelling, I think. And I need to see Act 3 as well. There's been 2 patches now, so I'm hoping Act 3 is better now. But again, I really don't see how this game got so many like 9s and 10s when apparently Act 3 was like basically unplayable when the game came out. Like,
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that one. I'm a little bit surprised. I told you initially I was really surprised at the scores anyway. I was like, really? 9.56? Okay, like that's really high. I'm a little shocked. That's really, really high for what I thought this would be. I would have been happy with a 9. I would have been like, oh yeah, 9's probably like a really super high score for this game, but 9.5 was shocking.
This game is definitely, we've talked about it, but this game is pretty much going to be this or Zelda for game.
It's going to be this or Zelda.
So, yeah.
It's this or Zelda. And
I hope it's Baldur's Gate. Like Zelda had it's Zelda. We know, everyone knows it's good. Like I just want something, I don't know, I want something else to take it.
I would like to see this get it. I would like to see this studio get it. This studio puts out good work. I would like to see that. My hope is that this game gets it. I like what I've played. This game is frustrating. I get it.
Yeah, it can be frustrating. I'm also like,
it's like that.
I just think I don't like this genre as much as like maybe other people do. I don't like it as much as like, I feel like I just like a traditional like RPG like better than this in general. Like this game is like this genre done like the absolute best, and I still like it, but like at least right now, having not seen enough of the story, so it's hard for me to say. But I think Octopath 2 for me is still like my personal game of the year right now. Like,
okay,
that game was really. I loved that game. That game was really good.
Yeah, I get it.
But we'll see. We'll see where this game goes with the story. Because like right now, the story for me is shrugged. Because I don't know. Like some of the individual stories, like I liked in Act 1 and stuff like that. But you know, I want to see where the overall plot goes and the companion stories, which are like the main part of the story.
Yeah, that's a big component of the story.
Yeah.
Is how the companions all work together. So far there's some stuff with the companions that I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed talking to them. They're not like boring, no emotion creatures. They all have their unique personas, which I've liked. I've liked all the personas that I've met so far. So I think so far so good. Haven't had any complaints with characters yet. Some of them have had twists and turns that I've been like, oh, I did not expect that from you.
Yeah.
In regards to their explanations of their backstories. So, anyway, I really like this game, obviously, but I was surprised at the 9.5s. When I was in early access with this game, I fully thought like 8.5 to 9 was kind of my area. So I was definitely surprised at 9.5. But yeah, this is a great D&D game. This is probably one of the best D&D likes D&D kind of games I've played. The only thing that even came close was Dragon Age Origins. That was the closest D&D game I enjoyed. It's D&D-esque kind of game. That was the closest one. So, anyway. Cool. God, we talked about Baldur's Gate for a while. Let's see. I've been playing Age of Wonders some more again. You saw me playing it though. You saw me.
I saw you playing a little bit.
Yeah. Been getting I just want to like get my money's worth on that one. I'm playing some more, like one of the very specific new DLC maps. That's like it's like Dragon Alliances. So I've been trying that one and playing that. And I've been playing Baldur's Gate. Obviously I talked about that with the Forge. Other than that, I've just been hanging out with those two. We talked, and then I think I'm gonna install that Sea of Stars on my Xbox here.
Yeah.
Give that a try Monday or something like that. That's kind of my plan, is to stay in those three. And I'm sure like Age of Wonders will probably stop after like this week or whenever my other campaign finishes that I'm playing with, that I'm doing with for co-op. But yeah, after Age of Wonders is done, I'm probably gonna just invest in Baldur's Gate more.
Yeah.
And then try and swing back to some of these other things. Mario. What am I talking about? Then Mario.
October, and it's still like a month and a half away, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it.
I know.
Looking forward to that. I have plenty of time.
Starfield. You're gonna check out Starfield.
Right? Yeah, at some point I'll check out Starfield. Probably not initially on release, but probably on some of these weekends here and there. Yeah. I'll definitely be checking it out. My big thing right now is like during the week I just have a little bit of a harder time investing too much time into games.
Yeah.
My big like weekends, like today and Sunday, I'm super lucky. We don't have D&D with our friend group. I don't have to do any other D&D. I don't have anything besides going to like a soccer game tonight. So I get to invest all my time in games and errands, and this week it's going to be games. So I'm very excited about that. Trying to invest more time into Baldur's Gate and Age of Wonders. And then I know there's I think there's going to be some Starfield play sometime in the next week or so for me. So anyway, that's it for me. That's what I've been doing. Just kind of same old, week to week.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Any
other stuff?
Nope. No, the only thing I've been playing is I've been playing Baldur's Gate, and I went back and been playing Advance Wars, but that game's fun. I don't really have anything else to say about it other than we talked about it when it came out. It's a really good remake of Advance Wars 1 and 2. Those games are really fun.
Yep.
So
cool. Okay. Well, I'm glad we got to do this part 2 and the stream didn't blow up and our internet actually stabilized. That was nice. We'll be back next week. We'll get these videos up as soon as possible. And yeah, next week we'll talk about maybe some Sea of Stars. I'll get some impressions on Sea of Stars. Starfield, possibly. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Baldur's Gate, if there's anything else to say.
I do want to check out Starfield, but I'm not gonna be able to do it while I'm here. I'll have to wait until I go home.
Yeah. So probably won't be talking too much on Starfield, but maybe just like we'll just chat about it. But I think, you know, we'll hopefully get some good news in outside of our topics. So anyway, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for everybody who chatted up and came by. We'll be back next Saturday.